Real questions, real answers for real life. Come on in and pull up a chair. It's time to discuss the issues of the day here at 1850 Main Street.
They say you can tell what a society values by what it builds. How about what it destroys?
All right. Unfortunately, I always find ways to get you fired up.
This is getting mean at this point.
And I apologize, but it was probably a year ago. You and I were chatting one day over lunch, and you made the statement that you and your youngest son, Caleb, had been studying architecture, like the history of it. And we live in an area of the country, Northeast Ohio, that has some amazing architecture.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a baseball team. We won't get into that. It's a whole nother show. Having a baseball team renamed, but their new name, the Guardians, is because of architecture on bridges throughout the city, the Guardians of the City. And that architecture is amazing on those bridges.
Yeah, it's kind of the Art Deco architectural style. So it's kind of
I knew that, but I wanted you to say it.
It's one of the last great American architectural movements, some say, and because you still cared not just about making money or just building any old thing. You wanted it to actually have some sort of a beautiful symbolic value to it.
So, in that discussion, not long after, I sent this to you. I came across the thread from someone because our complaint was together, and I had this complaint too because I was talking about I'd recently been in a funeral at an old historic church that was just beautiful on the inside. Yeah. And I felt like, I'm embarrassed to say, I felt like that was the first time my children had been in a church where they were looking around and like, wow, this is, this is awesome. This is amazing. Yeah. And since then, we've made it a point to go to a few more historical churches.
Oh, that's cool.
And they can see some chapels, and they can see some places of worship that are just, they don't build them like that anymore.
They don't. And I do think there are many reasons for that. But I think one of the things we've lost a little bit of is it's not just beauty for beauty's sake. It's
art.
It's art, but it's a point to it. There's a spiritual reason that those churches were built the way that they were. It was to direct your attention upwards to the transcendent, to God. And, they felt that one of the ways to do that was surround you with beauty, which if we believe God is good, true, and beautiful, these are inherently good things.
Yeah, it's not to create an idol. Let's put that
Sure. Of course.
Front. It's not for that reason. So I came across the list that Culture Critic put out, and it says, America built some of the world's greatest architecture and then demolished it.
And fingernails scraped across a chalkboard when I heard that, so, for me. So yeah, nothing gets me more upset than waste, like unnecessary waste. Yeah, so I, of course, had to click it. I was like, okay, blood pressure. Let's get ready for this one. Had to read it. So we've got the top 10 greatest hits of demolished U.S. architecture today on 1850. And I'm only going to do 10 of them because one of them, there was one of them was just like a replacement or something. I'm just doing 10. Number 1 on the list here is the Cincinnati Library. Considered by many to be the most beautiful library in the U.S. It's described as, and listen, if you're by a computer right now, type in Cincinnati Library and just take a look at some of the pictures.
Beautiful.
You're looking at it? Yeah.
I am because, and you're seeing the one guy that's up on the slot, up on the railing. Oh.
Towering cast iron book alcoves is how it's described. Built in 1874. Beautiful space. And we're in a library.
Personal libraries here.
Yeah, we're in a library as we speak. So to hear about one getting demolished. And they demolished it in 1955, which is interesting to know. More on that later. You're going to see a bit of a common thread throughout all these.
Did we mention what it was replaced with?
You have to. I mean, it's going to kill me, but go ahead.
It was replaced by a parking garage.
Alrighty.
All right. Number 2.
Chicago Federal Building. It's the largest dome in the country, larger even than the U.S. Capitol, built in 1905 from the Beaux-Arts era, and it was demolished for some modernist structure.
It was demolished for a block building so they could fit more offices.
Yes.
That's why it was done. It when you see the before and after, you just, whew.
Yeah. And that was, what year did that come down?
1965.
All right. So we got 55 and 65. All right. What's the third one there?
Number 3, the old Waldorf Astoria Hotel, New York City.
Okay. So they say here, German Renaissance design. And this one I actually do like the structure that replaced it. It was replaced by what, Rob?
The Empire State Building.
Empire State Building. Which,
it wasn't torn down for a parking garage, but when you look at this old Waldorf Astoria, I mean, look at that architecture. I mean, the attention to detail. Oof, buddy, this is good stuff.
It is.
And we live in an environment now where it seems like and this isn't to knock things, it's just different. But every time you go around a corner, you see cookie cutter neighborhoods where everything's built the same. You see strip malls, you see all those things, and
and you can tell what a society values by what it builds, at least in part. And if everything is built for the cheapest labor, the cheapest like supplies, the cheapest commodities, like you can tell what's valued. Just frugality, just get it done. Well, Rob, I look at your. This is a side note. We'll get back to the list in a second. But I'm looking at your shirt. This is a master's shirt. Talk to us a little bit about the beauty in the place called Augusta.
Augusta National. It's one of the most beautiful places in the United States. People go there just to walk the course the week of Masters Week. They're not golf fans.
Yeah.
They just want to experience the beauty that is inside the gates of Augusta National. And
I think that sometimes we lose in our modern world. Beauty does something to the human being. Why did God give us sunsets? Why did he give us oceans to stand and marvel and look at? Like some things that are objectively, transcendently beautiful, it's good for us. It's good for us.
Yeah.
When you subscribe to 1850 Main Street, you're the first to find out what's happening next with new guests, publications, and events. And when you spread the word about 1850 Main Street, you're helping others find real answers to the real questions facing America right now. To learn more, visit 1850mainstreet.com. And please, tell a friend.
Number 4.
The Singer Building, built in 1908. It's called one of the early great skyscrapers. It was once the tallest building on Earth. Beautiful, detailed, artful design, and it was basically replaced by a black Lego structure. Yeah, black. Another
it's
black
a rectangle.
And what year was that taken down, Rob?
1968. There's a theme going on.
We got another
here.
one from the 60s. Okay.
Number 5, Chicago, the Garrick Theater.
There's another one that was built in the 1800s, 1891. Now,
I love churches, but I'm also partial to theaters.
Oh, yeah.
And
great.
in Northeast Ohio, we have a few old theaters that are amazing.
Yes. The Playhouse Square District, please keep them, guys.
Yeah, some amazing theaters. So there's nothing like, and I'm not the sentimental one, I don't think, of the group, or the architectural one of the group. But when I walk in an old theater, I start thinking like, what played here?
Yeah.
Like, who's been here?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
the history aspect of it.
If walls could truly talk, and you see pictures of this Garrick Theater in Chicago, and beautiful, but also taken down.
Parking garage.
1961.
All right, number 6 on the list. Old Penn Station in New York City. Built in 1910. Demolished again, 1963. Now, this one, Rob, have you ever been in this building? It was demolished for what?
Madison Square Garden. I have. Neighbor of mine, young kid, he was a neighbor. He actually played Division I college basketball at Michigan State, and he had an NCAA tournament game there. And it was kind of cool because I started watching this kid play basketball in his driveway, and then I got to see him play in they call it the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. But I mean, when I look at the before and after shots of what they tore down to what they built, and they basically pushed Grand Central Station or Penn Station underground. that's where it went instead of being above ground. And yeah, MSG's there, and Madison Square Garden has held some of the biggest sporting events, concerts, things imaginable.
Yeah. So this one's a weird one because everybody that's a sports fan does respect and a music fan. Like, a lot of artists, Jay-Z talking about performing at Madison Square Garden.
Billy Joel just did his farewell tour, I believe, there.
Yeah. So it's an iconic space. So it's kind of tough to really rail on it, but you've got to look up old Penn Station pictures. You got to think maybe there was a way around taking this down. Because here's the thing that bugs me. Why do people go to Europe? One of the reasons. What's one of the reasons people go to Europe? They want to see the old buildings. They want to walk around in a place they know is 2,000 years old. My best man for my wedding, wrestling drill partner for years, best friend, just came back from Italy. Got family over there. It was great to hear his stories. But he talked to me about he was standing where Julius Caesar was assassinated. You can't buy that kind of history. And so if you build something beautiful, try to figure out a way to keep it. Maybe you could have built Madison Square Garden somewhere else. I don't know. But look at the old Penn Station. You would weep while you're destroying this if you have a heart. All right, what's next on our list?
Number 7, the Mayan Revival Fisher Theater, Detroit. Also torn down 1961.
To be modernized.
To be modernized. Yeah, the theater still stands. It's inside the building, but it was, air quotes. I'm famous for using those audio version, air quotes, modernized.
All right.
But another one in the early 60s. So we see a theme here. Like, did they just have so many amazing architectural pieces in the 60s? They thought, we can just keep tearing them down because,
Yeah, no, I think, we can talk about that here. I'm holding a book. I'm holding the book right now. Again, grabbed a book off the shelf here at the library at the American Mission Center. This is a book by Tom Wolfe, From Bauhaus to Our House. This is a classic work that talks about architecture, and it talks about the philosophical schools of thought that were going on, kind of coming up from the 20s through the 30s into the 60s, kind of coming to its head in academia. And this stuff didn't happen by accident. These are coming from Marxist ideas. They're coming from a lot of communist countries. They were trying to intentionally strip away ornamentation from design and get to pure functionality. Now, I'll admit, I like some modernist design. I do. I can see sort of the beauty and the simplicity and the clean lines. I'm not above that. But they were intentionally trying to, in many ways, destroy the past, which I'm not for. Listen, if you have a better idea, let's see it. But what you had to do was destroy something beautiful to build your new idea on top of it. Not a fan. So I would encourage people, if you're interested in this at all, to read from Bauhaus to Our House. And I might read a quote of it at the end of the show here. We'll see if I can find something.
We're going to go back to New York City for number 8, Old Metropolitan Opera House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, built in 1883 and again demolished for commercial property.
Well, and it says here, when the Metropolitan Opera Association moved to a new venue, rather than risk competition from a new company buying the old Met, they handed it to developers. It was demolished for bland commercial property to be built.
And what year was that? Let me guess.
1967.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there was really a lot of coming to the forefront here in the 60s. Number 9, another library. It hurts.
Old Detroit Library.
Old Detroit Library.
5-story atrium, just like the one in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got to look up some of these pictures. It's just stacked. It's like these levels just stacked and just books as far as the eye can see to the ceiling. It looks like the scene in the Beauty and the Beast cartoon Disney film where Beast gives Belle the library.
The note says, scaling the tall bookshelves was deemed an inefficient way to run a library in the modern world. Yeah. So it was demolished.
Yeah, because that's why you go to a library.
Yeah, could you hurry up and get that? Yeah. Could you hurry up and get that book? Yeah. I know it's 3 stories up, but get it yesterday already.
Yeah, I mean, feel like a library is kind of a place you could peruse if there was ever a place to do such a thing.
Aren't you allowed to be like? I mean, you're still efficient. It's more in a timely manner.
Yeah.
You're not being inefficient.
And that one was 1931, where again, you see in a book like this one by Tom Wolfe, the the 30s was a time where this mindset was pervasive as well. All right, final one. What do you have here?
We're going to Buffalo. Erie County Savings Bank, a Romanesque design that was the city's most beloved building, demolished for an urban renewal project in the 60s that saw, and I'm using their words, a bland modernist tower built. And when you see the pictures of the before and after, it is hard to believe.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's sad is that it was known to be beloved in the city. So it's not like these folks are consulting the people on what they want. Another one of these, I forget which one, there was a protest before they demolished it. So they're going against the will of the people that live there to do this, which is just kind of depressing and sad. I mean, I'm sure you own the land, you own the building, you can do it, but do you have to?
Yeah, and I'm fortunate. I grew up in a small town, East Liverpool, Ohio, and the architecture that was there from, it's an old pottery town, steel mills all around.
I've been to the pottery plant there with you.
And the old banks, when we would go in the old banks that are still there in town, it's kind of a look around. One's turned in now. They've kept everything, but it is now a restaurant. So, and there's a vault in there. You can eat in the vault. Well, I mean, look at Northeast Ohio. Look what was done. The most popular restaurant in Northeast Ohio has been voted one of the best in the Midwest is the Marble Room in downtown Cleveland.
Yeah.
Now, I may not be able to afford to eat there.
Yeah, one time I did.
Well, one time.
And it's awesome.
But the architecture of it, you walk in, you look around, or you go downstairs in the vault. I mean, it's an amazing place. They didn't have to tear it down.
No, just
convert
it into something else.
Well, I think it's important that we appreciate the architecture and the things that we have now. I know how much time Dave and the team put into this building that we're sitting in, the studio of the American Mission Center, the great room, the library.
Nothing was done by accident.
No, none of it was done by accident. It was done in a way where 100 years from now, people won't look around and say, boy, that was done in an era of the day or of the time. And it's not saying that everything has to be done that way.
Sure.
But there can be an appreciation for the architecture. There can be an appreciation for the fireplaces that are here, that we have the ability to sit around.
I want to close with a quick quote from the Tom Wolfe book I was talking about, book published in 1981, actually, year I was born. This is just a part of the quote. Again, I recommend reading it. He says, "Here we come upon one of the ironies of American life in the 20th century. After all, this has been the American century. This is the century in which America, the young giant, became the mightiest nation on earth. This is the century in which she became the richest nation in all of history." I'm skipping over a lot here. That's really good. Just to get to the point. "The way Americans lived made the rest of mankind stare with envy or disgust, but always with awe. And what architecture has she to show for it? An architecture whose tenets prohibit every manifestation of exuberance, power, empire, grandeur, or even high spirits and playfulness as the height of bad taste. I don't think that's an America we want to live in. You don't always have to tear something down to build something new."
The conversations are just getting started. To get connected, check out 1850mainstreet.com. We don't data mine anyone or sell your information. Subscribe today so you don't miss a single conversation. We'll see you next time here at 1850 Main Street.